2021 was Aleix Espargaró's second best finish in a MotoGP championship. He dragged his Aprilia to 8th in the championship standings and finally got that elusive podium for the Aprilia team, finishing 3rd after a good little battle in Silverstone with Jack Miller. However, we have to question whether Aleix Espargaró is actually a MotoGP worthy rider, as in his 17 years in the sport, he really hasn't impressed beyond his minor success in his very junior career. So today let's take a look at Aleix Espargaró and decide whether or not he still deserves his place on the MotoGP grid. Aleix started his racing career in the way back when of 2003. Beginning in the 125cc Spanish Championship, his first season wouldn't impress. He'd finish 11th with 33 points after 7 rounds. However, in 2004, this would turn around as he would get first place, but he only achieved 1 win in the season and 1 other podium. This wasn't exactly impressive. It's unlike other performances that we've seen since then, such as Fabio Quartararo, who absolutely dominated the younger categories. But it would allow Aleix to move onto the international stage, and he would start in what we'd now call Moto 3, or the 125cc two-stroke championship, in 2005. The 2005 season was anything but successful for Aleix, as he finished 16th place, with his best result being in China, a 7th place. However, he would continue in the 125cc class for the first 6 rounds of 2006, after which he ended up moving up to the 250cc class. He would finish that season in 19th place. 07 and 08 saw Aleix swing his leg over in Aprilia for the first ever time, and he would improve across these 2 seasons, moving first to 15th in the championship, and then up to 12th. 2009 saw the Campatella Racing team withdraw a contract from Aleix, leaving him without a permanent ride. He would end up riding part-time in a couple of races, as well as a development rider on the side. However, he was saved because on August 19th, 2009, it was announced that he would race for Pramac Racing in MotoGP. Aleix would only complete 4 races in that season. However, his best result was an 11th, which was impressive considering he was a rookie, and this meant that in 2010, Pramac would keep him on for a full season. 2010 was Aleix's first full year in MotoGP. He'd end up finishing 14th, no podiums, poles, fastest laps, or anything like that, but it was an alright first year. However, he would end up moving back down to Moto 2 the next season, racing for the Pons team. The 2011 season would see Aleix racing against his brother Pol. They'd finish only 1 point apart, with Aleix finishing in 12th and Pol in 13th. However, Aleix would get his first ever podium after 7 years on the international stage, finishing in 3rd in Catalonia. For 2012, Aleix would move back up the grid again to MotoGP. His first season back in MotoGP would see him finish 12th with the best result of 8 achieved in Malaysia. However, the next year he'd improve, getting another best place of 8th, but moving up the championship order to 11th. 2014 would see Aleix move teams yet again to the Ford Yamaha racing team. He would start the season very well, finishing in 4th in Qatar, and then getting his first ever MotoGP podium much later in the season in Aragon. This would all mean that he'd finish 7th in the championship, his best ever result, with 126 points. 2014 had also seen Aleix's first ever pole position, as he'd get pole in the Netherlands, however fall down to 4th during the race. The success of the 2014 season would lead to Aleix being signed for Suzuki for both 2015 and 2016. They would both end in him finishing in 11th place. The Suzuki team was still developing at the time. However, he would get a best result of 6th in Aragon in 2015 and improve the next year to a best result of 4th in Japan. And so in 2017, Aleix moved to Aprilia. And since then, obviously, he's been kind of floundering at the back, probably the fault of the bike, since the Aprilia is definitely the slowest machine that has been on the grid in the last few years. And that team has been slowly making steps forward, but of course that's difficult in such a competitive field that has also made steps forward every year. And this has led to Aleix being mocked, of course, most notably by Jorge Lorenzo, who last year tweeted about him not having any race victories or anything like that, and questioning why Aleix was even in the sport. What this kind of criticism misses out, beyond the fact that of course Aleix has not been on competitive machinery at almost any point in his career, is the fact that Aleix has been very good at beating his teammate. Since 2010, he's only lost the teammate battle twice. And so that means he's consistently beaten his teammate at almost every turn. And whenever he doesn't, he ends up moving teams. And so what I think this kind of shows is that old adage is definitely true, that the first thing a racer needs to do is beat their teammate, no matter how competitive the machinery. That's the first goal. And that has led to the longevity of his career. However, with all this being said, I don't see Aleix really continuing his career too much further in MotoGP, at least in a racing sense. He's now bought Maverick Vinales in, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not super confident in Maverick. We know that he's someone who I think needs to be fighting up the front and feel like he's winning, and at Aprilia I'm worried that he won't feel that and end up falling off the horse and not doing very well. But I think that Aleix, he's getting older, and it's time for him to go into more of a test rider role. Let Aprilia bring a younger upstart, someone else in, to try and either bring them some funding, if that has to be, it's expensive to run a MotoGP team after all, but also just to bring a young talent in would of course help them drastically, because they'd have someone that can really push that bike and is willing to push that bike to try and get the results. And with an Aleix in a test rider role, that gives him more time to just focus on getting that bike to be improving, and I think he would do a better job than someone, say, like Salvadori, who we've seen his abilities in MotoGP aren't exactly brilliant. With Aleix, I think Aprilia would see a much bigger improvement in their bikes if he was in that test rider role, and so that's where I see him going. Alright, that's that. I don't have a lot more to say. If you want to share some thoughts and opinions, please do in the comments. I like reading them, even when people say I'm stupid and so on. I appreciate any interaction and so on. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. As cringy as that is, it would be much appreciated. And yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.